Amen. So turn to the Songs of Solomon, chapter 2. What are some phrases when we communicate that you shouldn't say when you are talking to someone?
You don't understand me.
You don't understand me? Yeah.
Always.
Always? Yeah. Okay.
Never.
You're always like this.
Or they.
Oh, is that him?
They.
They?
Like when you say, oh, they always.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You mention it
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah. I want you to listen. Someone wrote a list of, some of the things we shouldn't say. I told you so. You're always in a bad mood. Okay. You just don't think. It's your fault. What's wrong with you? All you ever do is complain. I can't do anything to please you. Why won't you ever listen to me? Can't you be more responsible? All of these phrases will probably drive an argument. You are impossible to deal with. Okay? That was stupid. All you ever do is think of yourself. That's a big one here. If you really loved me, you would do this. Okay? Oh, I love this one too. You are such a baby. What's your problem? Okay? Do you always, and that's a big one here also, do you always have to be right? All of these are phrases that you shouldn't say. Okay? Because if you look at all of these, is the focus on the relationship or is the focus on winning an argument?
Winning an argument.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would even go to say that all of these phrases share a common ground of labeling the other person with a label like, you're this, you're
Absolutely.
It's never like, look, this is what your actions make me feel.
Absolutely.
Instead of saying,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All of these phrases are the do not do if you don't want to get into an argument. Okay? And I will share in the beginning, I was speaking about communication today. So you know what's the first thing that happened this morning? Iman and I had a miscommunication. So we had to kind of fix it like 3 hours ago, And it does affect your whole day, And when you start thinking about it, many times it's really a stupid thing. And you're thinking, why did I just have a bad day or a bad week sometime over this? And we're going to find out, we're going to find out why we get into those situations from Songs of Songs. Okay? One of the books that I was reading about communication when I was in school, actually, it says 87%, think about that, 87% of problems in relationships has to do with communication. That's almost 9 out of 10 issues that happen is because two people are speaking two different languages. They can't understand each other. Okay? 87%. And if you didn't notice, men and women are different, right? Just kind of they are different. So, women use talking to build relationship. Okay? So for them, it's kind of the conversation is to build a relationship, to connect. Men is about what needs to be done, short and sweet. They don't use talking to build a relation. For them, it's tell me what the issue is and how to fix it. But so it is, we are different. And many times that's what creates the problem is we don't understand that we are different. Many, for example, I am the kind of the opposite of that. I actually talk a lot, but for the most part, men talk a lot less than women. But I'm the exception, and there is probably some exceptions here. Okay, we're different in how we communicate. So I'll give you 4 different types of kinds of communication, and think about that. There is some who are about achieving. There is higher achievers and there is lower achievers. When someone is about achieving something, you know how the communication is going to go? He's going
If they want to be on top, they want to be the achiever.
Exactly. So are they going to give the other person a chance?
No.
Okay. So they're going to talk over them. Okay. They're going to try to persuade them to their side. Why? Because the goal is they want to achieve something. The goal is not the relationship, building that relationship. Okay? So you have the higher achiever, who is, the goal is, I'm going to persuade, I'm going to step on the other person, many times without knowing it. Okay? Now, what do you think the person that's lower achiever, that doesn't care about, okay, whatever achieving, what do you think they're going to do? Listen, comply, okay, move on. Basically, they're not going to win the argument, so what do? They just let it go. That's lower achiever, yeah.
Probably build a little resentment.
Build resentment, absolutely, because they're not getting a chance to say what's going on. You know. So, and you will see this when it comes to people who have achievement issues, okay? So you have the higher achievers, you have the lower achievers. Many times the lower achiever is quiet, okay, because they know they don't have a chance, in that conversation, okay. So the higher achiever, it becomes a fight to win an argument. Now you have relationship. So you have someone who regards the relationships high. What do you think they're going to do if you regard the relationship high? Which is where all of us, I pray, will be. You're going to have a mutual invest. You're going to have a mutual conversation. Right? Okay. You're going to listen. I love the verse in James 1:19. Memorize it. James 1:19. Okay. Is it quick to speak?
Slow to speak.
Slow to speak. Quick to do what?
Angry.
Listen.
Speaks.
Quick to...
What? The 805, man.
Okay.
A joke.
So you're listening a lot more than you're speaking. You're slow at getting angry. Why? Because the goal is not achieving. When the goal is achieving, anger is going to come quite quickly. Why? Because I'm trying to accomplish here a situation, and then I feel the other person is trying to give an input that's holding me from achieving a goal that I'm trying to do. So anger is going to come quite quickly. Okay? So when I value relationships high, there is going to be a mutual respect, okay, and connection. Now, what if my regard for relationship is low? What do you think I'm going to do? Like, I don't care about the relationship. Do you think I'm going to want to sit down? What am I going to do? Flee, hide, avoid. Okay? That's why many times we run away from conflict. If I value a relationship, I have to be able to communicate. So the solution to a problem is not to run away and say, you know what, I'm going to avoid it. And I'll tell you something. If you run away from a situation, you know what the enemy is going to do? Wherever you're at is going to bring you the same situation. Because he knows now how you're going to handle it. Okay? Yes?
But didn't we say before that we shouldn't talk to each other angry? Like if we're mad, we shouldn't do.
Absolutely.
But then, like, are you walking away from the situation?
Well, there is a big difference.
Okay.
There is a big difference between me saying, you know what, we need to take a break for an hour and then we'll come back and we'll talk. Or me saying, I don't want to talk about this.
What if you don't say anything?
Well, then I don't value, because the other person has an issue with what happened. So if I value the other person, I have to be humble enough to say, let's talk about it.
But doesn't it depend on the communication technique of the other person?
Absolutely.
Like if they're
Absolutely.
Like, would you don't have to talk to them if they're,
Okay, explain this to me more, because
like if you are dealing with someone who's a high achiever, because there's levels, right? And you know that if you come in with valuing the relationship, but the person you're dealing with doesn't, do you still act the same way?
no, because then all you're going to do is fight.
Even if you value the relationship?
If you value the relationship, you have to communicate and help the other person understand where you stand. Because in order to build a relationship, there has to be humility. And we're going to see that as we dive into the word. We have to see humility. Pride has to be broken. We have to become vulnerable. Okay? And we're going to see this, which means I need to open up. And always in situation to be vulnerable, we're always asking the other person to do that. Well, if they are vulnerable, I would be. Okay? And we're going to see how in the Songs of Songs, she built a wall. And like I said, always you can do a he or a she. It doesn't have to be a she here. Okay?
Build a wall. Yes.
I just want to comment on what you were letting me say. What I have found is that when you want to look at what is the other person's need, not just what I need in the moment, what do they need in the moment or in the time. And sometimes if the other person needs some kind of verbal communication, even if you just want to be quiet or not say anything, that can really hurt them. And it actually can become a form of negative control because you're not giving them what they need.
Absolutely.
So you want to find that balance of self-control, watch your words, but then, like you said, give enough information so that they can have closure to know this is going to be resolved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then give yourself the time you need.
Absolutely. So go to Songs of Songs. Okay. We're going to look at a lot more. Is communication only verbal?
No.
Okay. You know what's... I like this. We're awake. Okay. What do you think the percentage of verbal compared to other types like tone and...
Something low. I think it's like 70% nonverbal.
Yeah, that's very close to. Yeah.
Facial expression.
Yeah. 10% is verbal.
Okay.
Think about that. 10% is verbal. You don't have to say much to really send a message to someone. Okay? You can give them the look. I remember, when Amanda and Janelle were young. Where are they? Yeah. When they were young, and we would go to visit someone's house, and they were 4 or 5. I mean, they were good girls, so it happened very few times. But anyway, Amanda would tell you, all Dad needed to do if we're acting up is he would give us the look. And she knew that look.
I got that look last week.
So a lot of it is not verbal. A lot of it is how our tone is, how we respond when we're asked a question. And by the way, this goes to all relationships. It's not only in a couple relationship. You can take that to any relationship. Okay? Let's always watch how we, look at someone. Me doing like this, you know what this sends a message is? I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. A lot of times our gesture sends a message without us saying a word. Okay? So Songs of Songs. Okay? So I want to kind of show you where the story is. So look at verse 4 and 5 in chapter 2. So she's building that relationship, Solomon and the Shulamite woman. Okay? She's in love with him. Someone can read it? 4 and 5.
Let him lead me to the banquet hall, and let his banner over me be love. Strengthen me with raisins, refresh me with apples, for I am faint with love.
Okay? His banner over me was love. He took me to the banqueting table. Okay? She's enjoying that relationship with him. But like all relationships, is it gonna all high? Is it gonna be all high, or there's ups and downs? All ups and downs. Okay? And I have to understand that before I get into any relationship. Okay? There's gonna be winter, just like there is summer and spring. Okay? And how you handle the winters is what's gonna determine how your relationship is gonna develop. Okay? It's not gonna be always spring and summer. Yeah. So as she continues, she gets into a winter. And let's look at verse 8. Verse 8 and 9.
Listen, my beloved. Look, here he comes, leaping across the mountains, bonding over the hills. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing through the windows, peering through the lattice.
Okay. So she goes, the voice of my beloved, behold, he comes. And I want you to notice the obstacles he faced. Okay. So tell me one of those obstacles.
He's behind
Mountains. Okay. What else?
hills.
Hills. A wall. So he was facing 3 obstacles, major obstacles in front of him. Okay? Is a wall a natural obstacle? No. Right? It's not. So he can jump over mountains. He can jump over hills. But then what happens when, and listen to what it says clearly. He goes, behold, he stands behind what? Our wall. There was a wall that was built up. Okay? There is a problem that happened. And here is what happens. When the issue is not internal, when I'm dealing with situations outside, I can jump over mountains when I have a strong relationship at home. But the minute there is issues, there is a wall that's being built up inside, guess what? The struggle is not going to stay inside, right? It's going to go even to those mountains. So here he's saying, listen, he's coming. He's jumping over mountains. He's jumping over hills. And then he comes to a wall. Now, what can that wall be? What do you think a wall could be? Could it be pride? What else could it be?
Fear.
Fear,
Lack of faith.
lack of faith, lack of trust,
Resentment.
resentment,
The
okay?
unknown. The unknown.
The unknown, yeah, okay. So their relationship hit a wall. And that's why he is seeing through a window or a lattice, which is like a checkered fence. Okay? So basically, all of a sudden, it's not an open communication. There is a barrier now that's being built up. Okay? There is a struggle that they're having right now. Now, we can go through the same thing. In a relationship, all of a sudden there is a wall. Okay? Pride can be one. Okay? That can affect big time. And that can build these barriers for communication. Okay? Let's look at some verses that will show us some of these things. Let's look at Proverbs 19:20.
Listen to advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future.
Okay? Say it again.
Listen to advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future.
I want to ask you, when there is resentment, when there is pride, when there is a problem going on, how many of you easily listen to the other person?
Not at all.
Don't listen. Okay? All of a sudden, what happens here is what's in here. Okay? And I'm saying, this is how it's going to be fixed. And it's all here. I'm not listening. I'm not listening to the other perspective, the other side of what that situation that happened. Okay? That's why I go back to James 1:19. Be quick to listen. Okay? A lot of times, me listening, and is there different types of listening? I can listen to someone, but I'm already in my head adding up what I'm going to respond with. I'm not really listening. Okay? Because I am listening to prove my argument. Not I am listening to what the person is saying. Listening means you stop this and you truly listen to what is coming. And then you respond. It's called active listening. Okay? And many of us struggle with that. Because we already made the decision in our mind of how we're going to respond. So whatever the other person is saying, I'm not listening. Yeah? And then I respond with whatever was in my mind already. Okay? So here he's saying, listen. Listen to what's being said. Okay? Let's look at another one. Let's go to Proverbs 12:18.
There is one who speaks rashly like a piercing sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing.
Okay? Sometimes when we respond like some of these phrases, and sometimes it's even worse. And instead of working on the situation, guess what happened to that situation?
It's worse.
Gets a lot worse. Sometimes a soft answer removes a lot of issues. Sometimes we have a hard time saying, I'm sorry. We struggle with being humble to say, you know what? It's my fault. I should have done better. Okay? That goes with being humble. Now, in this story in Songs of Songs, who's building the wall? He or she in that scenario? Right. She goes, there's a wall, okay? But he's trying to get in. And by the way, he represents Christ. So, but please don't take the she as she. Because the she could be a he too. In that. So I just want to emphasize that I'm not picking on, women over men. I'm not doing that. Okay? Because many times men are a lot worse than women. Okay? Coming from a man. So I'm not, don't take this as a she or he, but here it's a representation of Christ and the church too. So in the story, he is trying to come in. He is trying to communicate. Okay? Now what happens when he faces a closed door? You know what we do? We get angry, right? We want to be heard. Now let's see how he responded. Okay? So he's gazing through the lattice, gazing through the fence. Okay? He's trying to connect. And then she said, look at verse 10.
My beloved spoke and said to me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away.
Rise up, my love, my fair one.
Do you know why I say fair one? I think that was like a phrase back then.
Representation of beauty. Fairness is the representation of beauty.
Yeah, in my Bible it says my beautiful.
Yeah.
one, so.
Yeah, you know. Rise up means let's fix this. Let's not stay. And sometimes we feel sorry for ourselves and we just stay. And here he is saying, let's not keep this going. He says in I think it's in Ephesians, he goes, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't let it go for days. You know, if you're angry, I'm all about, when I had my anger issues, I'm all about taking, a half hour, go walk, come back. But don't take, a half a week and then come back. Because that means you don't value the relationship. There's a big difference between walking away for a half hour to calm down and walking away for 3 days to calm down. Okay? Value. Here you're seeing he values the relationship. He values. He goes, rise up. Okay. Look at one more in Proverbs. Look at Proverbs 29:20.
Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There is more hope for a fool than for him.
Do you think when he responded to her in Songs of Songs, he thought about what he's going to say?
Yes.
He could have said, well, you want this, so you can have it. You want a wall, you want a window, you want a separation, well, you can have it. He goes, no. No. Because later on you're going to see that there is an enemy that's trying to get in and to destroy the home. So he goes, I'm not going to give the enemy the chance. So he goes, rise up. Rise up, my loved one, my fair one, and come away. Look at verse 11 and 12.
For now the winter is past, the rain has ended and gone away. The blossoms appear in the countryside. The time for singing has come, and the turtle dove's cooing is heard in our land.
Do you think he is speaking with grace or with harshness? Grace. What does it mean when he says in Colossians, let your speech be filled with grace? How would that look like?
A person doesn't deserve it because that's what grace is.
Exactly. A person doesn't deserve it. A person doesn't. That's what grace is. Let your speech be filled with grace. Colossians. Someone that doesn't deserve it. I should be speaking the other way around. But because I value the relationship, I'm going to have grace when I'm speaking. I am not going to be out there to prove a point that I'm right and you're wrong. Because if this is my mindset, guess what? We're both wrong. Because we did not value the relationship. So you see the grace. He goes, there is a winner. Yes, we're going through a difficult season. But I want you to look, the figs are coming out. Spring is coming out. It's not going to last. There is fruitfulness that's going to come into our relationship. And the voice of the turtle dove speaks of peace. Is heard in our land. Verse 13, the fig tree is put forth her green figs, and the vine with tender grapes. And then he repeats this. Rise up, my love, my fair one, come away. And look at verse 14. Someone can read it for.
O my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the secret places of the cliff, let me see your face, let me hear your voice. For your voice is sweet and your face is lovely.
Let's stop there. Love this verse. Oh my dove, in the cliffs of what? The rock. You know what this speaks of? If you don't create a safe environment in the relationship where someone can share anything and not be judged, there is going to be barriers in communication. I'll say it again. If you don't create a safe place, if I feel like when I share with Iman that she's going to jump on me and say, that was not smart or whatever, and attack me. If there is no grace, you think I'm going to share the next time? No. So you have to create a safe environment when it comes to a relationship. That no matter where the winner is, spring is going to come. We will work it out. We're going to value that relationship. But if I don't create that safe place, then don't expect for vulnerability to come. I won't be vulnerable. Because when I'm vulnerable, I will get what? Attacked. I will not be. So here, he goes, oh my dove, in the cliffs of the rock, in the secret place of the cliff, where there is security, where there is safety. Let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. That's a place where there is going to be communication. So here he's saying the grace can cover it. And by the way, that's the same with Christ. No matter what it is, there is a safe place. He hides me in the cliff of a rock. The rock is Christ. He goes, in that place, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. Go to Psalm 31 for a second. Look at Psalm 31, verses 20 and 21.
You shall hide them in the secret place of your presence from the plots of man. You shall keep them secretly in a pavilion from the strife of the tongues. Blessed be the Lord, for he has shown me his marvelous kindness in a strong city.
Notice that he goes, I am living in a fortified city. There is security, there is safety. And that's why there is protection even when someone speaks harshly. Even when someone, he goes, from the strife of tongues. And you know what? Sometimes we act the way we act when it comes to relationship is because our real issue is really our connection with God. We're not secure and safe in understanding that we are protected. We are hidden in Christ. That we can come to him no matter what. When we are secure in that, it's going to affect how we're going to deal with our relationship. Or how we're going to be vulnerable in a relationship. With me? Any questions? Notice verse 15, back in Songs of Songs.
Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, our vineyards that are in bloom.
Foxes are tiny kind of animals. Okay, small. So all they need is big space or small space?
Small space.
Small space. All they need is a small space. And I want you to notice what it says. The little foxes that spoil the vines. So it's going toward what's fruitful. Okay? Doesn't go toward something that's not fruitful. And that's exactly what the enemy gonna do when the relationship is right. He is gonna attack. And all he needs to do is a small space. That's all he needs to do. So he goes catch these little foxes that's gonna attack the vine. And notice it's gonna attacking it when? For our vines have tender grapes. Is this in the beginning of the season or later on in the season?
When they're the ripest.
Yeah. The beginning. So the minute he sees there is development, and this goes spiritually, so you can take this relationally or spiritually. The minute you're growing, he sees there is fruitfulness. He is looking for whatever small hole that he can attack in. Whatever small hole that you can give him. And most of the time, it comes in the area of communication. Someone says something, and okay, I'm not going to church. Or I'm not doing this. Or I'm not speaking to that person. Or I'm not going to group because of this. Or anything. Anything. All he needs to do, it comes in the area of communication. And all of a sudden, I back off. Small. All he needs to have is a small hole to destroy what God has been trying to do. So he goes catch those little foxes.
Can I add on to that?
Yes.
I heard a saying
Yeah.
the other day on Facebook, and it said, all the water in the world can't sink a boat if the water's not inside the boat.
That's true. But all it takes is
Little-
One
that
little hole.
a hole.
Honey, can I say something?
Yes.
I remember this preacher, and he was saying that when the devil comes into your life, sometimes he just sticks his arm in the door, and then he sticks his leg in there, and then before you know it, he has his whole body in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like with different temptations.
Absolutely.
and distractions and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Absolutely.
Wait, I got one more.
Absolutely.
Joking, no, I'm joking.
No. Look at verse 16 and 17.
My love is mine and I am his. He feeds among the lilies before the day breaks and the shadows flee. Turn to me, my love, and be like a gazelle or a young stag on the divided mountains.
Was there a shift? No? There was a shift. Okay. My beloved is mine and I am his. The soft, gracious words, okay, just softened her heart. And now we see that softness of that heart. You know. And then she felt like he turned from her. So he goes, until the day breaks. So now she is at night, right? Okay, because the day hasn't broken yet, which means it's not morning. Okay? And the shadows flee away. Night shadows. Okay? Turn, my beloved. Which means she was looking at his back. And she's asking him to turn. She wants that relationship that they had. That gracious words, the gracious way of handling by the beloved softened what was going on. And that's exactly what it says in Proverbs. It says, soft answers takes wrath away. Yeah, just speaking softly, a soft answer. He goes, you're my fair one, you're beautiful. And all of a sudden there is communication. I want to end with Ephesians. Let's go to Ephesians 4.
Look at the first couple of verses. Verse 1 to 3.
Sorry, what chapter, honey?
4.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Therefore, I, prisoner, for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace.
Okay, let's stop there. What does that tell you? So what is these 3 verses telling you?
To be more like him.
To be more like him?
That you might not like somebody, but you still have to show them love. It says in the end. It says,
Mhm.
be patient and accept each other with love.
Mm-hmm. Okay. He goes, keep the bond of peace. Right? There is a bond of peace. Don't let the enemy get into that bond of peace. Okay? Work it out between you, but don't work it out against each other. Work it out with each other. Okay? It is not about who wins the battle. Because the minute I am thinking this way, there's only one person that's going to win the battle. Satan. Okay? And he goes, not only this, with humility. Part of humility is being humble to say, I'm sorry. And some of us have an issue with saying, sorry. That was my fault. You know, it's okay. It really does not actually. It increases in who you are as a person when you are humble enough, when you are wrong, to say, I'm sorry. It doesn't take away. We think that when I say I'm sorry, that it takes away from, I mean, if you're a man, like it takes away from, I'm a man, I shouldn't apologize. No. It actually shows what kind of a heart you have. Yeah. So he goes, humility. Be humble. And then he goes, be gentle. What does that mean? How can you be gentle when you're dealing with an issue with someone?
What he just did.
Exactly.
Be soft.
Exactly. What is it?
Be soft.
Yeah, be soft. You can say the same thing 2 different ways.
Right.
You can say one thing to really send a message to someone and to hurt them, or you can say the same thing in a way that's going to be accepted.
Spanish.
In Spanish. Gentle. What does it mean to bear with one another in love?
Get along.
Hmm?
Get along.
Be happy when someone's happy.
Get along, okay? Put yourself in the other person's shoes. I know we don't do that enough. I'll tell you something that I learned. Okay? I did not grow up in kind of a broken home. I had, a good home and everything. So many times I don't understand when someone shares with me. I never lived it. But you know how God taught me to have grace and bear with someone else? Is when I'm listening to their story, I put myself there. And I say, I was 10-year-old when this happened, and 12-year-old when that happened, and 15 when that happened. How am I going to turn out? That's how I have grace. See, don't be consumed with my situation and what I want to accomplish. Take a minute and say, let me listen. What if this is my situation? What if what this person went through is my situation? How would my life be? That's what it means to bear with one another. To really listen
and try to understand and be gracious to where someone is coming from. You don't have to agree with the decisions, but you can still bear with what they're going through. All of this is communication. We're going to look at conflict too later on. How do you, when there's arguments, how do you resolve an argument? Next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about what a man needs and then what a woman needs. It's probably going to be a week and a week. So, because now when I say what a man needs, don't, so okay, this is a man issue, so all the women is not going to be here. No, it's good to know how everyone is thinking. Okay? Because guess what? It's a relationship. And we are different. No matter what you want to think of it, okay? In Christ, we're all, brothers and sisters. But God created us a certain way. We have to understand each other. Was there a hand? Yes.
I have heard a married couple not too long ago, a couple weeks ago at a Bible study, and they shared their testimony. But they said every day that they wake up, they sacrifice themselves for each other. So I think if you wake up with that attitude, sacrifice yourself for your other, it's way easier to meet in the middle and have an understanding.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And I wanna end with this. Okay? Is there a wall that's built? Is there a wall, whether it's pride, whether it's resentment, that is affecting how I am communicating with other people? And I'll tell you, a lot of times we learn our communication from what we do, what we see. Okay? So I saw my mom and dad treat each other this way or talk to each other this way or whatever. So guess where my communication style is coming from? What I saw. That's who I am. Okay? Whether it's right or wrong. And I have to check myself and say, was this right? Maybe I need God to change me in that area. Because Christ said, from the abundance of the heart, what happens? The mouth speaks. So when I'm angry, when I'm speaking angry against someone, when I am harsh against someone, when I'm resentful against someone, it's not an issue of my words, it's an issue of my heart. That's driving what I'm saying. And I need to allow God to heal. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Oh, we worship you, Lord. We worship you.